Welcome to Mission Oriented, a VeteranCrowd podcast that showcases veteran talent from both the private and public sectors. Their impact is everywhere. We are here to uncover it. Here's your host, Bob Louthan.
I actually did a podcast one time, David, where I forgot to hit the record button. I was like, oh no, we're going to have to do this again tomorrow. All right, hang on a second. Stopwatch. All right. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
Welcome, everybody. This is your host, Bob Louthan. Thanks for joining the Mission Oriented podcast on the VeteranCrowd Network. My guest today is David Cain. David is the owner of Heroes Home Advantage in Columbia, South Carolina. David, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, Bob, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast and look forward to our conversations today.
We're going to get into what you're doing at Heroes Home Advantage in a minute, but take a second and just tell everybody about young David growing up. Just kind of lay the foundation for me.
Yeah, so I kind of bounced around a little bit. My dad went back and forth between practicing law and working for the federal government and politics. So we went from Aiken, South Carolina to McLean, Virginia, to back to Columbia to McLean, and then back to Columbia for school. I'm a Gamecock.
Okay.
For better or worse.
The other USC. Okay.
Yes. And but I got into originally out of college, I was a sports agent. And then that kind of went into the mortgage business, which seems like an odd transition. But yeah, here 24 years later, I'm still in the mortgage business and also proud owner of Heroes Home Advantage.
Tell me about the sports agent business for a second. Did you represent professional athletes?
I did. So I started out, well, I really did football only. I had a couple baseball players, but it was football only, represented probably 15 to 20 different players that.
Anybody I've heard of?
No, unfortunately.
You didn't have Tom Brady, huh? You missed that one. That one slipped through your fingers.
No, I like to tell people I represented a guy you probably wouldn't know, Dan Marino, but no, that's not accurate.
Okay.
If I did, I still probably would be an agent.
There you go.
But most of my guys were free agents, and they played a year or two in the NFL. But that's a good business, but there are a lot of highs and a lot of lows.
And most people that go in the NFL, last less than 3 years. I mean, it's just that's kind of an interesting business. All right, so tell me a little bit about the transition from being a sports agent and how you got into the mortgage business. Let's go back and plow on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I went to work for a guy out of Raleigh, North Carolina, initially as a sports agent. And he represented a lot of big time players, and he was worked for him for about 2 to 3 years. And he started transitioning out of the business. So then I moved back to Columbia and opened up my own agency. And the sales cycle as a sports agent is a long period. It's about a year. You start recruiting them in the summer, and then if they make it, you don't start getting paychecks from their paychecks or commission or your fee until the following year. Mm-hmm. And so with the sales cycle being so long, I had a bunch of buddies that were in the mortgage business, and they said, hey, come work with us while you build your sports agency, make a little bit of money. And then the mortgage business kind of took over the agent business.
It sort of happened to me a little bit. I had one piece of my business kind of take over while I was trying to do something else. How about that? That's interesting.
Yes, sir.
So you've been through a number of mortgage cycles. How long have you been in the mortgage business again?
24 years.
Okay. So you go back and probably there've been a couple of shocks in there. I mean, 2000, early 2000s, a little shock. We had 9/11. 2008 must have been interesting. And now we've got situation with rising interest rates right now. Before we get into the discussion about your company in particular, give me a little bit of high level of what's going on in the mortgage industry just in general right now. It certainly was pretty hot a year ago.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's anybody that's been in the mortgage business for any length of time knows that there are cycles. The good times are really good and the bad times are rough. And so, the early 2000s, 2008, 9, and 10, and now 2022, 2023 have been significantly more challenging than previous years. Most people that are in the mortgage business now, obviously 2021 and 2022 were not normal years. Those were kind of like the perfect storm with unprecedented rates, but most people are down 40 to 50% from those years. So it's definitely difficult with the higher rates, lack of inventory, and it's in the appreciation from the last 3 years. So home affordability is a little more difficult and more challenging for first-time home buyers. So there's a lot of challenges out there, that's for sure.
I've been trying myself to get my finger on, exactly what the impact is on the market and who has an advantage right now? Let me ask you that way. Where's the silver lining in this? If somebody is who's in the best position right now in the real estate and mortgage market?
I would say sellers of real estate, people with cash, and people that have another place to go, because you can sell a house, but then you still have to find a new house,
right?
Which is challenging. You can get top dollar when you're selling, but also we're in most markets, you're buying at top dollar as well. Real estate is regional, so different markets are different, but if you're a seller, you're in a pretty good spot. If you have cash, you have a good spot. So I would say those people those are the ones that are doing well.
Okay, so let's talk about heroes. You acquired the company about a year or so ago. Here's the first question: who are the heroes in Heroes Home Advantage?
Yes, so great question. Heroes are anybody that is either active or retired from these 5 categories. So military, police, fire, healthcare, and education.
And you say retired. Let me clarify that. I am not retired from the military, but I have a DD-214. So is there a difference? Let's be distinguished. No. Okay. So, all right.
You would qualify. Anybody that's active, had experience, is retired, all qualify.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I specified that. That's an important distinction. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And so why did you buy the business?
Well, it was, I think it was kind of a divine appointment that I reached out to the owner, and I was talking to her about being a lender for the program. And she and I talked over a series of conversations for a couple of weeks. And she was a realtor who started the program in Rochester, New York. And she kind of had felt called to go in a little different direction, and was really for the last several years had been more focused on those other ventures. And over our series of conversations, she said, "Hey, David, we've got a lot of synergies. What is your interest level in acquiring the program?" And I said, I'll have to think about it and pray about it. And she said, we came back and said, "I think this is a good fit. I think this is something that is going going to be mutually beneficial, and it'll be kind of handed over to someone in good hands. So I purchased it and have been doing multiple things to try to improve the program, to whether it's social media, whether it's awareness, education, different aspects of the program, redefining it. So a lot of different things to what I feel is going to improve it and help out our heroes.
This business you said she was up in New York, you're in South Carolina. Had it established a national reach before you acquired it?
It had. So she started it 12 years ago. Since its inception, we've given back over $20 million to our heroes. We had up to about 1,000 partners and affiliates around the country. And so absolutely, it had a national reach, and we were helping heroes all over the country. And so
how does this work? I mean, you've perked everybody's ears up now, given $20 million back. How does this work?
So we are a nationwide network of realtors, lenders, and attorneys or title companies who are willing to give back a portion of their commission to our heroes when they buy or sell real estate. So we're not a grant program. We're not a loan program. We are just a network of people who want to give back to our heroes, acknowledge the service and sacrifice that they have given to allow us to enjoy the freedoms that we have. So there are other programs out there, and that's part of another aspect of our motivation, and is that everybody knows of most likely a hero program, but many of them give so little back to the hero, it's almost embarrassing. And to my knowledge, there is no program in the country that gives more to the hero than Heroes Home Advantage.
We're going to come back to that. You're listening to the Mission Oriented Podcast on the Veteran Crowd Network. The Mission Oriented Podcast is sponsored by Transact Capital Partners. Transact Capital Partners is a full-service mergers and acquisitions advisory firm specializing in the confidential sale and acquisition of privately owned mid-tier businesses. At Transact Capital Partners, we believe that our veterans continue to lead impactful lives as civic and business leaders. Their leadership and management skills, hardened in the crucible of the military, are key drivers of success. Veterans are mentally tough team players and creative problem solvers imbued with a heightened sense of ethics and personal accountability. Transact Capital Partners is committed to supporting veteran business owners throughout the life of their companies, building professional relationships and networks, advising on capital formation, mergers, and acquisitions. Contact the veterans on our team, Matt Cain, Ross Harris, and Bob Louthan at transactcapital.com. Welcome back. My guest is David Cain. David, I'm really fascinated now. I want to drill down into the what and the how part of the business, how all this works. You've established a national network of folks in the real estate business, title companies, brokers, and so forth, and you're giving back. First question, let me talk about the network itself. How do you qualify somebody to kind of let them into the club to be a part of this?
That's a great question, Bob. So we have to make sure they're the right fit, because not everybody is a right fit. So the people that become affiliates or part of our network, they, number one, have to be focused and interested in giving back. If you have a mindset of I'm losing part of my commission, right off the bat, you're not a good fit. They have to be focused on, hey, and have the mindset of we want to give back. Number two, they have to have a long-term vision of what we're doing as a program. So they have to understand that This is something that will grow over time and is exponential in its growth and its reach. And kind of related to the number one thing that we're looking for, they need to have the heart of a giver. Because yes, we are giving up a portion of our commission, but we're doing it because of the focus on the hero and wanting to give back. Now, most people who are good fits have some experience or relationships or affiliation with one of the 5 hero categories. And that enables them to be able to relate and have the interest of giving back.
They're either a veteran or a first responder themselves or a family member. That's what, I think you've really hit on something, because I can only speak for the veteran community, but there are a lot of merchants out there that I think make the mistake of giving lip service to this, and it's very thinly veiled marketing strategy, right? I think people see through that. Okay, so let's say I am a veteran. I am looking to buy a home. Maybe I'm a first time buyer. Maybe not. Maybe I'm selling a home. How do I interact with Heroes Home Advantage, and what can my customer experience look like?
Yes. So it's very, very important that the home buyer or home seller start the process with us. Because if you start the process by hiring a realtor or another lender, well, you are going to eliminate the benefit that we have to offer. I want to tell you a little story about a guy that called me about 3 weeks ago, and he was PCSing from Georgia to North Carolina. And he called me up and said, "Hey, David, I'd love to be a part of the program." And I said, "Fantastic. We would love to help you. Thank you so much for your service." I said, "Have you hired a realtor in Georgia?" And he said, "Yes, I have." I said, "Well, have you hired a realtor in North Carolina?" He said, "Yes, I have." I said, "Well, have you, gotten pre-qualified, and are you working with a lender?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And he said, I said, "Well, unfortunately, there's not much we can do for you at this time, because the way you receive the benefit is by working with our network."
Right.
And I knew the lender that he was working with. It's a very well-known lender that everybody on your podcast would be very familiar with. They have a similar program. And he said, "Well, David, how much would I have saved with your program?" And I said, "You don't want to know the answer to that program, to that question." And he said, "Yeah, go ahead and let me hear it." And I said, "Well, you would have saved about an additional $4,000 by working with us." And you could hear the breath go out of him. It was very deflating for him. So that's number one. Always make sure that you start the process with us, because either one, if you're working with another program, you're not going to receive the same amount. And number two, not every realtor and lender is willing to give back. So that's the key aspect. Start the process with us, and then we can get you connected with our network.
This sounds like a very much, you use the term network, but let me use the phrase networking. Do you have people that you've met and say, "Hey, why don't you go recommend to your realtor that they consider being a member of the network"? Does it work that way?
It does. Most of the time, though, once they already have the client, then they're focused on that particular transaction. We have had some people that were working with other programs or became familiar with our program, reached out and did join our network. So yes, that does happen. But normally once they're already involved in that transaction, it's too late.
You're an entrepreneur, right? You've been an entrepreneur for a number of years. You've acquired a business. I want to probe a little bit on that. So, as entrepreneurs, we learn by making mistakes. Have you encountered some things that, oh, I wish I'd done them differently? And would you share maybe some lessons from the entrepreneurial standpoint of about your personal journey?
Yeah. So without being too negative, I
Right.
want to give I've created a second avenue or path or option for our realtor partners. And one thing that initially my main focus on was helping all of our realtor partners build a long-term sustainable business by reaching our heroes. And a
Hmm.
lot of that was through coaching, through providing marketing tools, through teaching and educating and doing whatever I could to support them kind of take a boots on the ground approach. Well, it seems and appears like that many realtors, without generalizing, many realtors prefer leads and lead generating. And so we are getting ready to roll out a new lead generating option for our realtors. So I kind of was more focused on the 1 out of 100 and trying to find the 1 out of 100. And so I recently kind of switched the focus and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go after the 99 versus the 1. And I
Hmm.
didn't really fully comprehend that I was trying to find the 1 for the first 8, 9 months of the business, and it kind of realized, hey, I need to provide another option for the 99.
Everybody's business evolves as you go and you pivot. Tell me a little bit about your goals and your long-term vision for the business. What does the next 5 years look like, and how are you going to know you've accomplished what you're setting out to do?
Well, number one, we want to reach as many heroes as we can and prevent them from making mistakes by either A, working with another network, or B, um, not receiving the benefit that they really deserve. And as a result of that goal and focus, we want to be the number one hero rebate program in the country. That is our goal in the next 3 years. And the path to doing that is to educating our heroes as to who we are, why we're different, and how we differ from all the other programs. So that's our goal. It's kind of two-pronged: reach as many heroes and then become the number one program in the country.
You got your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal there, right? Okay.
That's
I
right.
like that. Uh, uh, Let me ask a different question, maybe on the vision standpoint. What do you think your business does, and how do you think this country is leaning on its heroes right now? After 9/11 is a big deal. What do you think's going on with our country's view of our heroes as you define them today? And what are the risks involved in that? I'm kind of leading you on that one, but I think the pendulum swings from time to time.
Yeah, Bob, that's a great question. We are, without getting too political here, we are trying to redefine the narrative as to who our heroes are. I did not serve in the military and actually have not been in any of those 5 categories that we serve. But I think that is part of who we are and what it's really an advantage, because we are trying to have the everyday person realize, recognize, and appreciate who our heroes are. We put too many other people who aren't heroes on pedestals in today's society.
Hmm.
And we are trying to have people acknowledge and understand and appreciate the sacrifices that all of these people give on a daily basis, whether it's third shifts, deployments, standing in the face of danger on a regular basis, working, as a teacher for 12 hours a day, underpaid with very little support from the school systems. You could go through every single one of these 5 categories, and they provide something to us that really gives us freedoms and securities that we wouldn't have without them. And so that's kind of what we are focused on, and that's why we do what we do.
We are fortunate to live in such a great country. How do people reach out? How do they get in touch with you and Heroes Home Advantage, whether they're want to be a partner in the network or individuals who are maybe looking for a home?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just go to our website, heroeshomeadvantage.com. There's a partner button or link there, and there's a hero link or button there as well. So they could put their information there. We're on, pretty much every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. So we're on all of those as well. I also give out my cell phone number, 803-261-9267, so people can reach out to me at any time. So if we're nothing, we're accessible. So you can find us on social media, my cell phone, or our website. So any of those.
We will put links to all of these social media outlets and ways to get in touch with David on the show notes. David, I got one more question. I'm wondering if there is a story of a veteran or a first responder or teacher that just comes to your mind when you think about, why you do this every day. Is there one that you could share?
Yeah. Sorry.
This is the good, David, this is the good stuff right here.
Yeah, sorry. It gets me choked up, every time. But the person, this was about probably 15, 20 years ago. I went through kind of a tough patch in my life. And so I moved in with my sister and her husband. And my sister's a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would see, I'd see her get up every morning at about 5 o'clock. And she'd get ready, she'd go to work, and she'd come home every day, probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
She cooked dinner for the family, and then, around, 7 o'clock, she'd get back to work, grading papers and doing lesson plans, and she'd do that about 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, she's working 12 hours a day, easy. And lots of challenges with kids, with parents, school districts, lack of support. And they don't do it for the money, because they clearly don't make much money. And so that's, the main story, one of many, but one story that sticks out to me is just the heart of a servant, the sacrifice, the serving that she does and teachers do on a regular basis, grossly underpaid. They do it to make a difference. And you could put that story in any of our hero categories. and they do it every single day. So that's kind of why we do it. We want to kind of highlight those categories, these people that go through hardships every single day. So sorry for not getting through that really well, but
David, that's the good stuff. My wife is a teacher. I've witnessed exactly the same types of things and I really appreciate you sharing. You've obviously got the heart of a servant, and there's more about being in business sometimes than just dollars and cents. You can go home at night knowing that you're doing something that's really making an impact. I can't thank you enough for being on the program, and I really appreciate you sharing that story.
Well, Bob, I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that it was beneficial for your listeners, and that they got some value out of it, and certainly appreciate the opportunity. One favor I would ask of your listeners is that, not everybody's looking to buy a house. Some of them may be, in their forever house, but chances are they know somebody who needs to hear about our program, so that they don't make a $4,000 mistake. So if they could share the podcast, tag someone, help us get the word out and educate people so that we are able to give them the largest closing cost credit in the industry. So that would be one ask I'd have of your listeners. Please share and let others know about our program.
We will do that. And David, listen, I can tell from this last story that you're exactly the kind of guest we need to have on a podcast that's named Mission Oriented. I've been listening to the Mission Oriented podcast on the VeteranCrowd Network. Again, my guest has been David Cain at Heroes Home Advantage in Columbia, South Carolina. All of the ways to get in touch with David are available on the show notes. David, again, thank you so much for being our guest today. I'll throw out an Army Bravo Zulu to you for a great performance today. And that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Mission Oriented. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and you won't miss an episode. To learn more about Mission Oriented and the VeteranCrowd Network, visit us at www.veterancrowdnetwork.com.